So a lot of you have been mentioning and commenting on my 12 Days of Yule, today being the 8th day of Yule. And the biggest thing that I've heard from everybody was, am I making this up as I go, or is it actually based on an actual philosophy? And the answer is, well, I'm making it up as I go. Um, there's a So a lot of people have been commenting and asking me about my 12 Days of Yule's post. Today's day 8 of the posts, and asking me whether or not it's something actual or if I've made it up. And what I've done is really I've just taken the actual days of Yule and for each one assigned them something, a little paragraph and a picture to sort of think about as we go forth in this part of the year. And then, of course, we get the question, well, are you a pagan? Um, and that's a very long and complicated question to answer. Um, and very quickly, just to sum up, yes, um, we all are, in a way. We all participate in nature. We're all part of nature. We're all one big human species. And the perceived differences among us are just that. They're perceived. They're not really differences. They don't make us any different. It's our personal philosophies may differ from one another, but even that, hopefully we'll see in the coming days, is something that we can work to unite into one goal, which is understanding that we're all one big happy family. And that, I think, is a very important thing. Very quickly, the word pagan comes from the Latin pagus or pagoi, if you're Greek, and it means somebody that lives out in the country. That's a pretty basic explanation of what the word means, but I think that's a pretty good explanation. And those of us who were raised in the country uh, probably have a little bit better understanding of what it's like to be, outside or in nature. And so there's that aspect of it. In terms of religion, paganism isn't necessarily a religion. Now, if you're participating in the folk religion of Osatru, which is, that's a kind of Swedish or Scandinavian religion based on ancestry and based on the Viking sagas. That's something of great fascination for me. Those are some things that we can talk about in a future video. But the idea of paganism is to sort of remember where we are, remember the people who came before us, take thought for our children, to be industrious, to be honest, and to strive to be better every day, to create and maintain friendships and relationships, to celebrate the importance of family, to celebrate the importance of doing simple things like cooking or building something or fixing something, to remember the growing things, the living things. Those are all little aspects of what paganism is. And so as a result of making our mentality focus on these sorts of things, we get into this understanding of where we fit in the larger scheme. And I think it helps us to have a childlike heart, especially when we look around and see the trees and the sky and the hawk and the mouse and all that. We say, oh wow, that's really something that I never noticed before, and feel that sense of awe and that sense of wonder. That's kind of what this is really about. Now, those of you who are of a specific faith and have a negative association or connotation for the word pagan, you can be a pagan and still be a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever. This isn't really about the gods or God or Allah or any of that. This isn't something that you are forced to do in exclusion of other philosophies. This is something that you choose to do in combination with your personal philosophy. So if you're a Christian, you can still be a pagan. It doesn't mean that you're outside of the faith, and it doesn't have to mean that. you can still be a Christian and you can still think about things in the pagan way. Now, keep in mind, there are always negative connotations for words. Pagan could also be a motorcycle gang. That's not what this is about. It could also be considered, since it tends to be considered a Northern European or Germanic thing, there can be aspects of it that people make it into white supremacy or that sort of thing. This is not about that either. There's none of that in this. This is simply understanding who we are in relationship to what's around us, learning how to be the best that we can. The 9 noble virtues, for example, which I'll go over in another video, is a great example of how we can better ourselves, and those work right alongside of, and they're a really great parallel to things like the 10 Commandments or, the other gospel commandments if you're Christian. So these things don't have anything to do with the traditional understanding of what a pagan is. And certainly because we have a strange idea of what the word means, what we have to do first is remove ourselves from that way of thinking. We have to sometimes redefine things, reclassify them in our mind. That's a good thing. That means that we're learning and growing. And that's what the point of this is. If you have questions about what we're going through and what we're doing, if you're interested in learning more, I'd be glad to send you some links. You can like and subscribe this video. This is the first of many videos that I will be posting here on my page for people who are interested. We're going to talk about lots of different things, and one of the things that I really want to continue to talk about is getting people to understand what this whole philosophy is about. As for the future, I'll accept topics. If you want to send me a topic or leave a topic in the comment, and I can talk about that if I know. If not, I'll do the best I can to figure it out. Hope you have a wonderful 8th day of Yule, and we'll see you next time.